Alright, my friends, we got to continue our patch week coverage with a brand new weapons tier list, and this time around, we have had no weapon balancing changes again. However, I do got some things to spit, some opinions to pontificate, and some, I think, thorough justifications for some balance suggestions going forward. Irregardless of that, we rank the weapons in Valorant based on the highest levels of play, the average lads like you and me bumming around ranked, and everything in between to give you the accurate snapshot you need to shape your economy and dominate with the best weapons you can in your games. So, without any further ado, let's go to that question of the day. And today we are asking you, what's a weapon you did not use for a long time because you initially didn't like it, but learned to love using it now? An interesting one for sure, because we all have preferences and sometimes they can hold us back from using a good or better weapon in a situation because of that bias. For me, this easily happened with the Sheriff. When I first started playing way back in the beta, being the CS nerd that I am, I was repulsed by the idea that the Deagle equivalent could do something so sinful as to not be a one-shot headshot due to range drop-off. But over time, as I've gotten better and more acclimated to Valorant, I've learned to embrace the Sheriff. But hey, that's just me. Let me know if this has happened to you in the comments down below. Alright, here it is. Here's the big bad tier list. We start at D, work our way to the tippy top, and rank the weapons in Valorant in between. Let's get it started with the D tier. The worst tier of weapons in the game, as I've called it in the past, the Guardian tier. But wait, what's this? A new challenger is approaching? It's the Shorty. Yes, my friends, the D tier has a new resident, and it's the new Misfit, the new weapon to hold the title of why is this even in the game? And frankly, I don't know how the Shorty recovers and ever escapes the D tier without some much needed love from good old Riot Games. And it needs it. Why in the hell would I use this over any other pistol in the pistol round? I mean, let's be brutally honest, the Classic is a better shotgun than the Shorty could ever hope to be as of right now, and the pistol rounds are like its only hope for viability to begin with. We'll get into this more in just a minute, but the fact that we had this thing ranked over the Guardian for so long is unfortunately a byproduct of our bias. Prior to the recent metas, they were at worst on par with each other, but the Shorty now stands alone as the worst weapon in the game. Let's get out here, this thing makes me sick. But you know what would make me feel better? If you went to SkillCapped.com and took a look at our complete catalog, of course it's designed to help you conquer competitive. From agent guides, map guides, economy guides, tips to help you graduate from the Johnny No-Thumb School of Aiming. Yes, please sign me up right now, and you should sign yourself up at the link down below today. Alright, the C tier is here, the tier of the okay weapons, and to start things off, I have some stuff to talk. Now, I've made it no secret that I personally don't like the Guardian. I thought the Guardian was a useless weapon for a very long time. Why would I ever buy it on Eco Round over the Spectre or a Bulldog, and why would I ever consider it when I can afford the Phantom or Vandal not far off? To me, the Guardian was an aimless weapon, desperately needed some love and maybe a buff, but I stand here before you all today, well, sit here before you all, but let's not split hairs, and declare that I was wrong about the Guardian. Now, where did I, and I think consequently some of the community, go so wrong in our evaluation of the Guardian? Well, personally speaking, I definitely undervalued the prospect of a 65 damage body shot at all ranges with highly accurate first shot accuracy, and of course, that ever lethal one-hit headshot, all of that kits. And that's because, well, it's slow, it's semi-auto, and if you get pushed, it can be unruly to handle. So how has our opinion changed in this regard? Well, it came mainly down because of Breeze. Breeze really opened our eyes to just how many long open sightlines there are in Valorant, and just how well suited the Guardian is at holding them against everything except an operator. This made us reconsider some areas on defense, specifically where the Guardian has some insane value across many different maps. Here are some great Guardian spots to consider in your own game. Starting on Haven, we have holding C-Long from sight, playing A Heaven to overlook the entire A site. On Ascent, we got holding mid either from Market or Catwalk as the primary best spots for some Guardian buys. Moving over to Split, you can really only get some good value while holding A main from screens, but it's still viable. And finally on Breeze, well, you can damn near use it on every major sideline for both offense and defense, it's that open. In conclusion, I'm sorry Guardian, we've been mean to you for far too long, and it's good to see you rise from the depths of D and find some content in C. Moving on from the mea culpa, look it up, we got C tier mainstay the Bulldog. The Bulldog is another weapon certainly benefiting from Breeze, opening people up to playing the long range game more and more, and in that respect the Bulldog offers a nice versatile toolset as an econ option when you want to play back. Just keep in mind the power of the Spectre. Getting caught inside close range in these scenarios can be a death sentence due to the low hipfire rate of the Bulldog. All around solid weapon, but I'm now Team Guardian, so for me it's just overall not that impressive. Rounding out the C tier, we have the Bucky. Oh man, it's just a sad state of things here. The judge is balling and stunned and fronting, while the Bucky is just forgotten and lost to time. Its extremely cheap price tag and close range lethality should have something going for it, but for the most part the community just doesn't care. Maybe if the judge does get nerfed one day, the Bucky can have something to do again, but for now, it gives a C tier spot for basically just being a bigger shorty. Heading onwards and upwards, we are at the B tier. The weapons just on the outside looking in for being considered top tier in their respective roles in the pistol, eco buy, and full buy areas. The B tier weapons are quite good, but the weapons above them offer just that little bit more to get excited about. Alright, our standard starting point, let's talk about the default, the standard, the one with way too many cool skins, the classic. Now, I got some beef with the classic this time around. I think flat out the right click is an unfun mechanic, it's unfun to play against, it trivializes using the weapon, and I personally hate how it allows for quote unquote cheap kills. Now obviously a qualifier here. What is perceived as cheap or free frags is incredibly different person to person, but the community does have a few standard ideas of what is cheap in Valorant. Spamming the judge, pretty cheap. Run and gun, cheap. And for me, and I stress that heavily for me, right click classics, cheap. I don't like how you're able to supplement poor single shot accuracy with a simultaneous 3-round shotgun shot that can easily one burst a player during the pistol round because of its triangular spread pattern leading to relatively easy and forgiving headshots. Straight up, this needs another round of changes in my opinion. It's still too accurate in the air, and despite it being less accurate to spam, it doesn't fix that first burst lethality in my opinion. I don't know how you fix it, but I just really don't like the classic and need to vent about it, and now you guys know too. Moving it on, we got another B tier mainstay at this point, and that's the Stinger. I do think we're starting to see a further slip in viability for the former God of the Force buy. The reality is, as we get more and more mid-range in our second and third round engagements, especially on these bigger maps that are becoming more prominent, it's tough to find room to use the Spectre. I almost always prefer Ghost, Sheriff, or even a Frenzy over this weapon, but at the same time, the potential lethality is what keeps it high on this list. It's still the lowest TTK theoretically in the game that's not a one-shot kill, so yeah, I'm sure occasionally you'll buy the Stinger, plug in the old steering wheel, and relive the good old days. It's just definitely getting harder and harder to realize that. Rounding out the B tier, we have my personal favorite weapon of the bunch, and that's the big boy Marshall. Personally, I've been taking up operator play more and more in my ranked games, and to go with that, the Marshall is a natural pairing in the early economy. Marshall play is definitely a bit touch and go, but man, when you hit those headshots, it feels good. And a personal tip from me to you, don't underestimate the no-scope accuracy of the Marshall. To quote my good man Notorious Dub, it's basically a slug shotgun in close quarters, which is a lot of fun to make work. Keeping it speeding and feeding right along, we find ourselves in the A tier. This is the spot for the best pistols and eco weapons in the current meta. Getting things started, let's highlight the Sheriff first. We all know the value of the Sheriff as a versatile eco round purchase, lethal but hard to use. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Sheriff is supremely well balanced and deserving of its A tier spot. What I want to highlight again with Breeze being out is a guide we did not too long ago about the Sheriff pistol round buy strategy. In summary, you can buy a Sheriff on pistol round and have a lethal long range option, and if you live through the pistol and the second round with that same buy, you can then force an early operator in the game, which on these long range op heavy maps can be incredibly deadly. Not a strat for all of us, but a worthwhile thing to keep in mind. Moving on, we got another pistol round powerhouse, and that's the Frenzy. We literally just dropped a guide highlighting how to best use the Frenzy, and I would recommend you go watch that after you finish this tier list, of course. But needless to say, for the aggressive pistol round person, that Frenzy is a ferocious option. Abuse that run and gun and make the pocket SMG work for you. Rounding out the pistol by prominent picks, we have the best one of them all, and that of course is the Ghost. Not much to say at this point. The Ghost has been pistol king virtually since day one and only took extreme outliers like Frenzy light armor and old classic right click spam to even start to dethrone it. Other than that, it's been by far the best pistol round option in the game for quite some time now. Keeping up the pace here, we have what I consider the most underrated eco weapon in the game, and that's the Ares. Not only is it cheap, accurate while aiming down sights, and has like zero recoil, it of course offers what every Silva main loves, and that's plenty of bullet to spam. Definitely a defensive option and much more suited to sight anchoring that doesn't take away from the fact that the Ares is slept on and deserves much more recognition than it gets. Heading off the A tier, we have the literal opposite of underrated, and that's the Spectre. Straight up, this is the best light buy weapon in the game. It can hang with rifles, it can run and gun, and most of all, don't sleep on that aim down sights accuracy. I swear this thing is a headshot magnet, and it's so easy to spray control as well, and all of this for the low cost of 1600 credits. But wait, there's more. It's also suppressed, so smoke spamming is on the table, so take good advantage of that in your Spectre adventures, my friends. Alright, with all that previous pomp and circumstance behind us, we now have arrived at the final frontier, the S tier. The best overall weapons in the game, the weapons you reach for when taking down the enemy gamers is the most efficient way possible is your goal. Let's get started with the oddball of the group, but by no means any less lethal, and that's the Judge. Now, you may be thinking, what's the Judge doing here and not in the Eco tier? Well, on certain maps, I think it's damn well viable to run the Judge for the majority of your rounds, i.e. bind and split. And even on other maps, there's usually one corridor or flank that tends to cater to the Kneecapper 9000. Hell, even Breeze has B Snake and B Maiden just to try and lock down if you're feeling frisky. What it all boils down to is cost over lethality. Nothing is as straight deadly as the Judge. I personally hate facing the damn thing, and that for sure warrants an S tier placement, right? Well, maybe not that alone, but it's still really good. On the polar opposite side of the close range boomstick, we got the magic stick, the Operator. The more and more I get back into playing the Op, the more I realize just how impactful it is. Like, yeah, duh, the Op has been dumb good, we all know this, but experiencing it firsthand is another thing. I would definitely go as far as to say that right now you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if the team you played with doesn't contain at least one semi-competent Op player. So, if you don't use it yourself, give it a go and see how it fares. Maybe you got a touch of the Wardell on you and you just don't know it. Alright, here we go. Let's talk about the big rifles of Valorant. Starting off with the Phantom, there's been an interesting shift in the pro consensus, at least in North America. We're starting to see an exodus of Vandal players abandoning ship for the land of the Phantom. But why is that? Well, while the Vandal is of course the king of the taps and king of headshots and a versatile long-range threat, it does have a few issues we'll elaborate on shortly. But what the Phantom does directly and differently is first bullet accuracy and accuracy recovery from extended bursts or spraying. These traits and the suppressor and rate of fire advantage alongside the mag size really makes the Phantom the attractive option, again specifically in North America. In Korea, that region is Vandal dominant, and for EU it's much more split. This is a phenomenon we are seeing play out in this region specifically. Jumping over to that counterpart, the reason that NA players are starting to ditch the Vandal, well, the Vandal has the annoying, small, but noticeable difference in first shot accuracy. It's just not the same, and at the highest level, these small differences become significant when we are dealing with the best aimers in the world. Couple that with the random and severe spray recoil necessitating a tap and burst playstyle, the more aggressive NA region just is starting to leave it behind. Don't count the Vandal out though, whatsoever. Us plebs, us mere mortals, will still get great value out of both rifles, and our opinion here is the same as it's always been, and that's that you should pick the rifle that works with your playstyle and master it. Wrapping up the shenanigans today, we have the Odin. It's a shredder. Random makes this thing an AC-130, Silva makes it a war crime on set, and frankly people just consider the Odin a meme. But trust me, it's more than just a meme. You should respect it more. And that's the final list. Here it is. Bask in its glory, and let me know in the comments down below why our list is wrong and yours is correct. I'd be down to read them, and while you were down there, make sure to like the video and subscribe as well for more premium guides just like this, with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped would like to thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Just to give you guys a personal look, I spent my entire day casting a small tournament in another game, and then had to record this video, so my vocal cords are shredded. I'm going to bed.